Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Hyde, joined tonight by the original Mr. Richie Kopeck. The OGs tonight, back with you. So, Rich, how we doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just enjoying the fantasy land unfold in front of me, and it's so far it's been pretty fruitful for me. But
We know. We've talked about it. We've had in-depth conversations about the your fan. You should rename your team to the Kansas City Chiefs because when I was talking to Joe on Monday doing the waiver show, I was like, we just know he's going to win. You just don't know how. It's inevitable. So just like the Chiefs, you go up against the Chiefs, like you may lose one or two games, but you know they're gonna win.
Come on. I still gotta get there. I still gotta have my players deliver. But I will say that I have a pretty good squad, and yeah, I'd like to see myself do it again. Why not?
I hope not. I'm hoping I can somehow sneak it out this year, but I got a lot to go through before then, so we'll see. We got a quick question. I want to ask you. So we're both playoff bound in our dynasty league. I think you're playoff bound in redraft too. I think you were on the edge. You have a big matchup this week, but going into playoffs. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, I think I'm good. I think I might squeeze that out in redraft, but yeah, no, continue.
So going into playoffs, is there any player or players that you're looking ahead, like, please, I don't want to have to play them? Who's the person on the opposite side of your team on your opponent's roster that you're like, oh man, please no? Who's that for you?
Honestly, if I have to play against Lamar Jackson or even I'm gonna kind of give a little head nod to Derrick Henry too. Really, that Ravens offense, they can explode. I've seen Lamar run down the field really fast and make it all the way to the end zone for these 70, 60, 50-yard dashes and just completely burn you out. And it's tough to come back against a player like that. So. Now that Taysom Hill is on IR, yes, that's now my player that I fear when I look across at my opponent's team.
Yeah, Lamar just has that kind of game-breaking ability, and it's wild. The Ravens' offense is just really good. Last week wasn't the most fruitful, but it was against a very good defense. For me, as most of you probably know by now, it is definitely my most hated stack in all of fantasy football, mainly because I have them nowhere. So I don't get to enjoy the amount of points that they drop on somebody's head. But it's going to be Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Now, I have T. Higgins. I have Chase Brown. And every time I'm in that game, I'm on like pins and needles. The anxiety builds up. It's like, I know this is going to be a Jamar Chase play. I know it's going to be a deep touchdown or some crazy thing is going to happen. And it always seems to be whenever he plays, I play against him in one league or all of the leagues, which happened once this year. He just destroyed me. And it's really not fun. So I really hope if I make the finals, that it'll be what happens. So years ago, we had that giant blowout game. So I'm hoping that I can return the favor with my quarterback and wide receiver stack, Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I hope to return the favor to you, sir, very, very soon.
That would be interesting, but as the owner of said stack, I love it, man. It's been great to watch. I will say though, and for anyone else that has that stack, you need to pay attention right now and kind of like hold your breath a little bit because of where the Bengals currently are. They are 4-7, 4-8, I believe. They are in the hunt still for the playoffs, but it's not looking pretty for them. They need to just win outright with some losses from other teams happening. So overall, yes, it's going to be tough. And with that, kind of fear what we might get by championship week coming from the Bengals. So, I mean, we'll see. I don't exactly know if they're at home or not. I feel like maybe they'll still fight if they're at home, but it's going to be tough to just put your faith all into the Bengals championship week if they have nothing to play for. So maybe keep that in consideration as well, just as a disclaimer there.
As someone who doesn't have the stack, please, Bengals, Joe Burrow needs to be healthy next year. And Jamar Chase, you don't want him getting hurt in a game that means nothing. Just do us all a favor. Just keep T. Higgins out there. Keep Chase Brown. Everyone else, just bench them. Those two players only. Okay. So thank you. Welcome. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. But we're gonna go over a couple defensive streamers. Guys you want to stash. So I know you had a couple defenses. So why don't you run down the list of defenses you like heading into the playoffs that you're looking to pick up now or maybe early next week.
Yeah, so I mean, overall, there are a couple of your normal guys out there that I think could really help you. But I mean, overall, it's going to be for me. I liked Cincinnati, not really just to go back to it, but I did like Cincinnati kind of 2 weeks ago. Their fantasy playoff schedule did look kind of more enticing per se. But as of late, with the news that I just mentioned, it's a little bit hard to kind of put your faith in them, though they are still playing against teams like Dallas this week to kind of help you if need be. I don't think Cooper Rush really scares me too much. But then they play Tennessee. The Will Levis experience is always fun. And then week 16, they play against Jameis at home. So I know, we can probably count on at least one interception there, hopefully for a pick six. But it's so not a bad option there. But overall, I think for me, I'm gonna pick the Colts, to be honest with you, who are playing against in Week 15 Denver, which Denver's playing great. Don't get me wrong, they have been, but Bo Nix is still a rookie, so I do think in the right circumstances, they can definitely have him make some mistakes over there. And then following that up with Week 16 playing against Tennessee at home, again, Will Levis experience, and ending it with Week 17 championship week against the Giants. I think the Giants by then are just going to be throwing in the white flag, and Colts should roll right over them. So I like those two guys really. If you're in a pinch there and not sure where to go.
Yeah, for me, I like. I said it a couple weeks ago. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their end of season schedule is pretty juicy. This week they get the Raiders. The hardest matchup they have is the Chargers because that offense is really good. But Raiders, Chargers, Cowboys, Panthers, like that's pretty good. I also like the Cardinals as well. They're a pretty good defense. They've been pretty good. This week they get the Seahawks at home. Then they have the Patriots. Then they go up against the Panthers and the Rams. So the Rams are okay. That's the only one I'm a little like, they might have something to play for, so it might be a back and forth game, but I think they're one of the defenses you could probably get on your bench and mix in with some of these other defenses. I think they were mostly available in most leagues as well. So definitely check your waiver wire for those guys. So why don't we get right to the main event? We have very important start-sit decisions this week. A lot of you are probably on the fringe of playoffs. You need a win to get in, or you need a couple miracles. These are guys that we're going to break down that will help you get over that hump. Once you make the playoffs, anything can happen. So you can be the best team, you can be the worst team in the playoffs. Does not matter right now. It's just getting there. So put in the work, and then we'll figure it out after. So why don't we jump into the starts of the week? All right, Rich, who is your quarterback start of the week?
So my quarterback start of the week is going to be Will Levis going against the Jaguars this week. This may feel like a little bit of a low-hanging fruit kind of pick, but start your players against the Jags. It's kind of been the recipe all season, and I don't think it stops here. Will Levis is trying to show who he is as a quarterback. He's a young guy, trying to make a name for himself. So, I mean, I think he's going to have a good game here. We've seen the recent connection with one of his receivers that I'll talk about later. But nonetheless, it's been great to see. So why not bring on more of it? I do think as far as the show out we're going to have here should be good. A little bit of a scoring affair between both teams. Mac Jones kind of also trying to prove himself a little bit as the player that got drafted and then basically left for dead onto another team. So I do think this is a little bit of just some bad teams that are going to show out a little bit here, and with that. Yeah, I think Will Levis is going to be fine for you as a start.
Do you think Will Levis is the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans next year?
Oh my God, I was literally thinking this on my way home. That's so weird, but I don't. I think so, man. I really do. I think that he's played decently enough to where there is maybe it's like something they can do really to help him along to help it click. Maybe just another off season. Give him one more year, and then I think after that, if it doesn't start to look better, then we start to cut ties.
Yeah, he's either the biggest buy this offseason dynasty or the biggest sell. I don't think there's anyone that's like, I'll just, I don't know, whatever we're going to do. Tennessee Titans actually pick 7th right now, and if the season ended today. So it's enough to get a quarterback in a class that's not been deemed the best for quarterbacks, but also, there's going to be a lot of running backs. There's going to be a lot of, offensive weapons this draft. It might be time to start looking at Levis just in case. It probably cost you a second in Dynasty. I know I'm getting off on a tangent. It just popped in my head, so I figured we'd discuss it. But, yeah, we'll see. So my quarterback start of the week is Jared Goff. Thursday Night Football going against Green Bay. Now, I just mentioned in the waiver episode that dropped on our YouTube and Apple Podcast the other day how he terrifies me for the rest of the season because of just how they can lean on this run game at the blink of an eye, and it's so efficient. But here's the thing. The Packers just ruled out Jair Alexander. They're home in the Dome, and there's a 51-point over-under, according to Vegas. So everything is wrapping up to kind of put a bow on it that this is going to be a good, high-scoring game. The Lions right now are hurting on the defensive side of the ball. They got a ton of injuries on their defense. It's not the same shutdown defense that we saw earlier this season. So with the Packers projecting to put up these points on the board, Goff, I think, is going to have to keep up. They're not going to be able to just run the ball down everyone's throat because that's not what's going to work. Monty's probably still going to take a rushing touchdown at the goal line just because at this point it's pretty much in his contract. He just scores inside the 5 once a game, at least once a game. I just think they're going to really need to lean on this passing game just a little bit more than normal. So I think this is going to be a big game for Jared Goff and Jameson Williams. I think is going to be good. Sam Laporta. They're going to need to use those guys a little bit more to get past this one. They're going for, they want it all. This is a Super Bowl contending team. They're going to want to push as hard as they can. And they don't care if they're up. They're still leaving their starters out in the field, putting up more points. Look at what happened in Jacksonville. They put like 50 points in 3 quarters and we'll just keep going.
Yeah, that was something. I mean, I love it. I'm definitely there for the Detroit Lions. It's actually been interesting. I acquired both Monty and Jameer Gibbs on the team, and I have some pretty good starts overall. But it's a league where it's a guillotine league, so I acquire fresh players from a player from off another team, and it's just interesting to see like who do I play between Gibbs, Monty. I think honestly, I really like Gibbs this week, but
the answer is both.
Yeah, the answer is both.
That's what the answer always is. You just play both. I had them last year, and I forgot because it's a 17-team league that I drafted both, and I got to like the 6th round, and Monty was still there. I'm like, oh, great value. And I was like, wait, I have Gibbs too. And I won the league, so paid off.
There you go. Very nice. All right, so moving on then to the running backs, I will start with mine, and that is Nick Chubb. We're going against Pittsburgh this week. Um, the Jameis Winston experience, man. I love it. And I think that from it, we have seen the ups and downs, the high scoring affairs that just actually happened this Monday night. I mean, it's great. Even when he loses, he's still there for it. And with that, I think there is some life brought back into the Cleveland Browns. So this week playing against Pittsburgh. We did just watch Pittsburgh and Cincinnati go toe to toe and also have a high scoring affair. So I know that both teams are capable of doing so right now. And why not? Let's go with Nick Chubb. He's in a good spot this week. The Pittsburgh Steelers over the course of the season are giving up about the 10th most points to the running back position. They're actually giving up the second most rushing touchdowns on the season. So I mean, I think it's a good spot for him, and I actually think Nick Chubb will score this week. So fire him up.
Yeah, he's been fun to watch with his injury coming back and everything. So, and the Browns, man, they're so much fun right now. I love Jameis
I love
Winston.
it.
He's
It's
awesome.
so good for them.
Yeah, it's great. My running back start of the week is going to be Rico Dowdle going against the Cincinnati Bengals. Rico's coming off an RB5 finish last week. We got to see him be the main back as we've been waiting for this season. Over the past 2 weeks, he's seen 22 and 25 opportunities. That is right around the time where they announced him as this is our main running back. Zeke is old and toast. Dalvin Cook is just he hasn't played because he's done. So Rico's just been getting all the work. It's really a pure volume play. The Bengals right now, their defense is middle of the pack against our running backs, but looking at the way the game projects, I think Rico should still see about the same amount of volume as he has been seeing, with a little bit more emphasis on targets, because I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be able to get to Cooper Rush, which might keep him a little bit more check down happy. So again, quite simply, this is just a volume play, and he's got the chance for a touchdown. This could be a high scoring game, with the Bengals. Just they need a win, so they're going to look to put on as much offensive specialness as they possibly can. So I think with the Cowboys being the Cowboys, they're going to have to do something, and Rico is part of that game plan. So
Yeah, no, I really hope that they stick with what they've been doing as of late and just realize that Rico is their guy right now. So, yeah, no, I love it. And with that, we move to the wide receivers, and I'm going to go with Nick Westbrook Ikhine going against Jacksonville. The tandem, I'm going with the stack this week, Will Levis and your boy Westbrook Ikhine. I mean, he's been hot, so why not? The guy's catching a touchdown a week, just really laying it out. And as of late, that is, and it's worked out. I have been fortunate enough to. Well, the first week I kind of was forced to play him, but that worked out. And then last week I just kept riding the lightning, and yeah, I mean, I'm here for it. Jags are giving up the third most points to the wide receiver position. Like I just mentioned about all the reasons earlier with the whole Will Levis thing, I imagine just a back and forth game here. So why not get some pieces in it, especially one that's been hitting as of late. So yeah, I like Westbrook Ikhine this week for sure.
now you know what's going to happen, though, right? This is going to be the Calvin Ridley game that I was promising everyone last week. It's going to flip, because that's just how things work in fantasy. It's like, oh, everything makes sense for this, and it's like, yeah, no, we're good.
You're right.
Hopefully not.
You're right.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I have Ridley, so I would like. Why can't they both have good games? Let's get one of those together.
Was Will Levis, but carry on.
Yeah, that's true. My wide receiver start of the week is going to be Jakobi Meyers going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Myers right now has been a target hog the past couple weeks since he's gotten back from injury. He's earned 15 targets and 11 targets over those past 2 weeks. This offense has very few pieces outside of Jakobi and the tight end we don't deserve, Brock Bowers. He's been around or over the century mark on yardage over the past couple weeks. And Tampa Bay right now, they've been giving up to wide receivers. They're averaging about 23 fantasy points given up per game, and the Bucs can score. We see Baker, we see that offense. Mike Evans is healthy now. They're going to be able to put up numbers. They're going to have to abandon the run game on the Raiders, and who even knows who the running back is going to be because it's just a mess over there. So I think they're going to have to start passing the ball right out of the gate, and it's going to make them play catch up. And Aiden O'Connell, whoever is playing quarterback, I don't really care because they're going to get it to their two guys, and their volume is going to be plenty to sustain a fantasy week, especially this week in with a ton of buys. This is someone you can start with confidence.
Do like that, honestly, Jakobi Meyers, when I look at my opponent's side of the team and I see Jakobi in their lineup, I'm not like, oh my God, I'm versing against this guy. But then at the end of the week, I'm like, oh my God, like what happened? Like what this guy put up that many points, I mean, he's been great, so one of those kind of just more quiet players that just delivers on a weekly basis and carries on, doesn't really maybe slam dunk home run for you, but definitely a good piece to have. So moving on to the tight end then, and that would be I'm going to go with Jake Ferguson this week, going against Cincinnati. He's been coming back from the injury. He's been out for the last 2 weeks. He's been irrelevant for pretty much four. He hasn't, I think it was week 9. He had over 10 fantasy points. So, it's been a little bit of a slow season for Jake this year. But the Cowboys as a whole, it's just been such a terrible ride there. So this week, I think it's just going to be the Bengals, as we mentioned, needing the victory. I think they'll be up. Some more passing from the Cowboys. And I hear that, CD is questionable right now. So we need to monitor that. And with that, I mean, I think that you're going to see early and often targets going to Jake Ferguson there. So I'm good with Ferguson this week.
Now, just in case, because I know he's still coming back from the concussion, I don't know if he's fully healthy now. If not, would you put the same, into
So right,
Screwmaker?
yeah, yeah. I actually I think if at that point I would probably pivot to like Will Disley.
Who could be a
No,
really
I
good
mean
start this week?
I honestly, so that was going to be my other, like, that was going to be my start of the week. But, yeah, I don't know. I like Ferguson. Cincinnati, they're giving up the second most points to the position over on the season. So they do give up points to tight ends. You can see it happen easily and often, especially in a game like this. So why not? But yeah, I mean, I guess if he doesn't clear protocol, I'm skeptical on the other option there. I would probably just pivot to, Disley.
I'm actually looking at before I get into my tight end. I'm actually looking at these. I feel like you can't really go wrong with a lot of the top guys this week. Like there's a couple good matchups for tight ends, especially. So it'll be fun.
Yeah.
But for mine, I'm going to go with T.J. Hockenson going against the Atlanta Falcons. The Vikings, their offense has just been a little bit weird lately. They got targets going to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hockenson, and usually it's 2 out of the 3 guys showing up for fantasy, and one guy takes a back seat. Now, for a couple weeks, it seemed to be Justin Jefferson taking a back seat, which is really weird. Then Jordan Addison. It's always like a mix of them. This week, I think it's going to be a huge Justin Jefferson and TJ Hockenson game where Addison goes back to his backseat driving. So looking at target share, I think Hockenson is just going to see enough targets this week to put him as a top 8, maybe top 6 tight end on the week, especially with buys. I mean, there's a couple good tight ends, like I said, but Hockenson is someone I think you could play with confidence. I'd play him over a decent amount of these guys. So now we got to talk about guys we're not excited to play. So let us jump into sits of the week. Alrighty. Rich, why don't you kick us off with your sit of the week?
I said this week is Deebo Samuel. He's been kind of disappointing already this season, so this may not be something very surprising to many, but definitely if I have a wide receiver that is on the San Francisco 49ers, I wish it would be Juwan Jennings. And even that this week, I'm really not confident in Chicago. They're a tough defense to wide receivers, giving up third least amount of points. So it's not exactly something that I'd like to have in my starting lineup, especially with, being a win and in type of situation. So yeah, I'm not really a fan of the receiving cores of the Debo specifically this week. So look elsewhere.
Yeah, he's been really weird this season. I mean, all the Niners have. It's been a lost season for sure.
Yeah,
It's one of those where you just shake your head
he's
like, what happened?
I mean, he's not really like I feel like getting a lot of like the rushing work or like it's not really working the way it did in the past, and he's also not catching a lot of these slant routes that he usually takes to the house type of deal. And I mean, he got I think last like huge touchdown he had was weeks ago, maybe even a month ago or two, almost at this point. So
Yeah,
it's been hard, but
yeah,
yeah.
definitely. So for me, it's going to be Chuba Hubbard going against the Philadelphia Eagles. Their defense is fourth against running backs on the season. That ain't good. You just can't run on them. Like no matter what you try, you're not going to be able to run on them. Derrick Henry had trouble running on the Eagles defense this past week. So they're only allowing about 13 and a half fantasy points per game to opposing running backs. So I know right now, especially Chuba has been amazing this season. He's been one of the biggest hits this year because you drafted him super, super late, and he's been performing at a high, high level on an offense that has sucked for most of the season. But now he's splitting time with Jonathan Brooks, losing out on some of the passing work. So that's something we haven't seen, really. And going against a really good defense, now losing some work, it's just, I can't play him with confidence. I mean, if he goes out this week and balls out, that's awesome. But this isn't the time to take those risks because you're trying to get playoffs. He's someone that you've always started. And we're like, I'm good. I'm good at my RB2 slot because I have Chuba Hubbard. This is not one of those weeks. I would not play him. If you have the gall to do so, good luck to you. But I don't think it's going to work out for you. So that is our sits. Now, is there any other player? Like, I actually want to ask you the question I asked Joe on
Mhm.
Monday. Going into playoffs now, on one of your rosters, any roster you want, who's the one player you are very excited that you have because you think they're going to finish and be that league winner for you? And who's a guy on your roster that you're like, he might let me down? So for me, my
Yeah,
guy was
so
Bijan is going to lead me to victory, hopefully. And my guy that I was nervous about is Jared Goff. So who are yours?
okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a few players really that I can classify for this. I mean, I'll tell you that both Josh Allen and Joe Burrow scare me, you know, as far as reasons. But I guess just to kind of, I don't know, just to keep it into maybe a redraft, Devon Achan. He's been fun all season long, especially with games with Tua. But the upcoming schedule playing against the Jets, the Houston Texans, San Francisco, and Cleveland to end it, um, it gives me this big reason for concern. And he's a little guy, out there trying to do big guy things, and he's been succeeding. Don't get me wrong, he's been succeeding, but he's going to play against a gauntlet of teams this next couple weeks, or this next month, I should say, and yeah, he's definitely a player that's for me. I'm like thinking it's just not going to do it for me, And then I guess on the flip side, if I had to pick a player that right, that's what you asked. You said
Yeah,
double side.
a guy that you think is going to be, show up for you when it counts.
Dude, Bucky Irving, man. Bucky Irving coming out of nowhere.
He's supposed to be Rashad White. I traded for him. Please.
Oh my God, dude. So I've had him just chilling, and I didn't play him against the Giants, which was a mistake, but I played him against Carolina. We're at week 14 against the Raiders now. Then after that, he's got the Chargers, which granted, it's a little bit tough, but we'll see. And then to end it, Dallas and then Carolina. I love that. This man is going to eat. So he's looked good. And for me, yeah, I think, he's definitely going to be on a lot of those league-winning rosters. I'm glad he's on mine.
Yeah, I wish I traded for him instead of Rashad White. But you live and you learn. Not all experience is good. Bad experience is still experience. So that's going to do it for us tonight. Good luck for everyone in your Week 14 matchups. If you could do us a favor, though, please go to the section below. You can click the like and subscribe and follow along with the show. We really appreciate everything that you do and you watch our videos. Thank you. We're trying to get a little bit more out there, so we need your help to do so. But without further ado, good luck. Have fun. Hopefully everyone gets into those playoffs. So we'll see you around later.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Follow us on Twitter at TheHeroesFF.